So, what's today's subject?
Sorry, could you please re-edit that in a way that doesn't massively overestimate your audience's attention span? I could barely see that without hitting the pause button, and I shouldn't need to be inconvenienced like that.
Excuse me for a minute. I need to take a step outside.
Spoilers, he invokes the whole "I'm going to calmly walk out and scream my head off while off-camera" trope, which I wouldn't mind if he didn't screw it up by being both horribly predictable and cranking the volume of the scream all the way up. True story, I knew the joke was going to be like that even on the first time I saw the video, so I turned the video's volume right down. And I still found it loud enough to declare the death of headphone users the world over.
So today I'm going to talk about another show currently airing on Cartoon Network that I despise. I'm going to be ranting on Sonic Boom. Not that piece of crap Wii U game.
Well, I will hand you some praise since you're not talking about Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, as that's been discussed 1 million times already.
8 seconds. Just for that one test card. And all for a generic statement that doesn't add anything. Just why?
Where to begin? I'm just going to talk about... Before I get to the main issue I have with this show, I'm just going to talk about the animation. It's horrible.
Animation should be the least of your concerns when ranting on a TV show, son.
What? What? Someone who is complaining about a TV show that delivers itself through an animated medium wishes to talk about the animation?
What manner of satanic rites are these?
The CGI in this show is just really bad. I have no problem with the show being in CG.
Then why did you say the CGI was bad? You just contradicted yourself.
Yeah, no. He was making the point that the show wasn't bad for being in CGI in and of itself, just that it was the show's particular use of CGI that was bad. He's trying to qualify his opinion on the CGI by clarifying that he doesn't mind the fact that the show chooses to be in CGI, implying that he wouldn't have a problem with it if he found the CGI to be good, which he didn't. And this makes sense for him to do, since there do exist plenty of people out there who hate CGI just for the fact that it's CGI. In fact, this misinterpretation becomes all the more blatant when you repeat yourself one cutaway later.
If it looks really bad, then why did you mention that you have no problem with the show being in CGI?
And actually reading back what you just typed would have clarified that there's a difference between what medium a show portrays itself with and how well it executes the portrayal. I swear I haven't seen someone abuse the term contradiction this blatantly since rants are cool.
So basically he's contradicting himself, saying he doesn't care about views, but then now he's saying he's gonna quit because he's not getting enough views.
Like, in my opinion, it looks like it was made over a decade ago. And if it wasn't in HD, it would still look like it was made over a decade ago, even if it was in HD, because I'm pretty sure in 2005, they might not have had HDMI, but they had 480p or something.
Actually, according to Wikipedia, HD existed ever since 2002. Here's proof. In February 2002, the project was officially announced as Blu-ray Disc, and the Blu-ray Disc Association was founded by the 9 initial members.
Yeah, that's nice and all, but that doesn't prove your point in the least bit, since that quote is in reference to Blu-ray, which is not the only HD format in the world. And even if it was, that quote alludes to the announcement of the format's name, not the actual release of the format. If you want to date it to the concept of HD, particularly with regards to TV, that dates as far back as the Muse standard used by the Japanese NHK system in the 1980s. Yeah, leaving aside the fact that Wikipedia can be edited by anyone, you see how amazing things get when you actually read your proof?
Let's talk about the storylines. They follow a very, very cookie-cutter concept. A lot of the episodes just have extremely similar storylines. Here's the storyline for a bunch of episodes, I guarantee you. Sonic and the gang find Dr. Eggman. Dr. Eggman is doing something seemingly harmless, so they don't really care. However, by the middle or near the end of the episode, they start to realize that Dr. Eggman is doing something bad. And so, Sonic has to outwit him and bash him and boom him and bam, 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 bam. Dr. Eggman says, "I'll be back!" And he is, but he doesn't learn his lessons. And, yeah.
To be honest, not all the episodes follow that concept.
You know, you might have a good point there. You know who agrees with you on that? KaBlamBandicoot64.
A lot of the episodes just have extremely similar storylines. A lot of the episodes,
Yeah, a lot of the episodes, implying that he means the majority. As in, not all of them. In fact, later on in the video, in a clip which you leave in your commentary, by the way, KaBlamBandicoot says this.
And now granted, there are episodes where they do something different, and I suppose those are better, but...
Yeah, when you feel this desperate to force your commentary to the point of arguing against a perspective the commentary target barely even holds, you don't deserve to have the rest of your point heard. Skip it!
Dr. Eggman does something seemingly harmless. Sonic and his friends believe it because they have no character development.
No character development. Totally.
Ultrasonic fan, you do realise that doesn't prove KaBlamBandicoot wrong, right? Again, leaving aside the issue of how reliable Wikipedia is as a source, that excerpt you showed there, that shows character traits, not development. Sure, character traits can come about as a result of character development, but that depends on whether the show actually shows any of it or not, which KaBlamBandicoot believes it doesn't. Now, whether he's right or not, that doesn't change the fact that panning across a poorly cropped screen cap of a Wikipedia page is a piss-poor substitute for a counter-argument that only serves to demonstrate that A, you can't present information coherently to save your life, and B, you weren't paying attention to what he was actually thinking about. Then again, given your accusation of contradiction earlier, that wouldn't surprise me.
It's just the same thing over and over again. Now granted, there are episodes where they do something different, and I suppose those are better, but the writing in this show is just really unfunny most of the time. I might have laughed a couple times, but yeah, it's just really unfunny.
Claims he laughed a couple times. Says it's unfunny, twice. That makes sense.
Actually, yes, it does make sense. You know why?
I might have laughed a couple times.
Semantics, you fail at them.
And yeah, I know the show does have a lot of action in it, so comedy isn't the main focus, but the creators said... No, it is the main focus. The creators have said that this is mostly a comedy-driven show with some action in it.
And what's wrong with that? At least the creators of the show know when to put in stuff that's not comedy related.
What in the hell is that supposed to mean? All I'm getting from that is, the show's creators made this show, so there's nothing wrong with the way they made the show. And in any case, that doesn't change the fact that KaBlamBandicoot didn't say they were wrong for emphasizing the comedy. He takes issue with the fact that the creators weren't entirely consistent with various announcements as to what the show is focused on. If anything, it'd be more prudent to complain about the fact that KaBlamBandicoot doesn't say exactly which of the creators said that, and where they said that. I mean, good lord, do you expect me to do this entire commentary for you? Get off my porch!
Also, comedy-driven shows like Looney Tunes have been critically acclaimed shows. What's your point here?
That the creators don't seem to be able to decide on whether the show should emphasize the comedy or the action, something which Looney Tunes has never been known to have a problem with as far as consistency of genre is concerned.
So yeah, that's what they're going for here.
Yeah, how dare they do whatever they want with their show. Hashtag Sonic Boom Hater Logic.
Watch out, folks, we got a badass here firing their unreadably brief substanceless hashtags in the general direction of those mean, nasty haters. Though in all seriousness, please never make a jab like that ever again. That hashtag combined with the fact that you wear your fanboy status on your sleeve by way of your username and profile picture really isn't making you look any more dignified in this scenario.
Comedy, and it's not funny. I mean, but that's not even the main issue I have with this show.
You know, I would really appreciate it if you would have edited out these stutters. Or scripted this and your other rants. Keep that in mind next time you make a video.
Hey, remember that needlessly lengthy, meaningless text card from earlier that gave across the impression of some kind of editing error or failed joke more so than anything else?
Not that piece of crap Wii U game.
Yeah, that totally didn't happen. Purvey your advice on editing to your heart's content, oh totally consistent stallion.
The main issue I have with the show is the characters are bland.
Read this closely.
Well, I would if you'd stop panning and zooming the image like that.
Right, so here's why the characters are bland. Sonic is the team leader. He's strong and heroic and not much else.
Do you even do your research?
Well, I don't know, do you even have an actual counter-argument to that? Any actual proof that there's more to Sonic than what KaBlamBandicoot is saying? Any proof that doesn't involve vague gestures in the direction of a poorly cropped Wikipedia excerpt? Ultrasonic fan? Hello?
Tails is the science geek. He can handle weapons, planes, and he doesn't do much else. Knuckles is the strong idiot.
Here we go again with this whole Knuckles is stupid debacile.
Oh no! Someone said something bad about my favorite fictional echidna! My life is totally ruined! I'm so mad that someone who is not me doesn't like the things that I like! Why can't the world be populated by people who are exactly the same as me?
First off, in projects that aren't part of the main canon, the characters being different should be pretty obvious to you all.
Yeah, but if Superman at World's End proves anything, it's that being non-canon doesn't stop something from being a terrible idea, especially considering that many other allegedly non-canon portrayals of Knuckles don't hint at this. So the idea of Knuckles being all brawn and no brains for Sonic Boom just comes across as rather incongruous.
Secondly, Knuckles really isn't that stupid, he's just clueless and ignorant. There's a difference.
I'm not going to remotely touch on what that difference is, nor will I make any distinction as to what defines an idiot in this context. Please take my word for it.
He just has some of the traits of an idiot. There are lots of dumb characters in cartoons.
That it may be, the issue is that Knuckles doesn't benefit from being one of them, or at least he isn't a unique example of that. If anything, you saying that there are lots of dumb characters in cartoons only serves to make KaBlamBandicoot's point about the derivative nature of Sonic Boom even stronger, especially since he later says this.
They just have the most stereotypical, cookie-cutter, generic character personalities you could ever think of, and nothing else.
My brain cells die every time Ultrasonic Fan reaches for his keyboard. At this rate, I'll have lost basic motor functions by the 8-minute mark.
He's not that big in the head, but in the muscles he sure is strong, and
his biggest muscle is his hard Doncher.
Styx the Badger is a new character, and she's crazy and wild, and that's about it.
Again, do you even do your research?
No you?
Of the group, even though Styx is a girl, but
Hey, at least she's not your generic damsel in distress or anything of that sort.
Good for you! Now actually say something that matters, preferably without the typos.
Amy's the girl-powered group, and she's heroic like Sonic, and she's a girl, and that's pretty much it. Dr. Eggman is the goofy, evil genius guy, and he's really goofy, and that's pretty much it. See where I'm going with that? They just have the most stereotypical, cookie-cutter, generic character personalities you could ever think of, and nothing else. They are the bare-bones characters. They are the most basic...
Alright, how redundant can you possibly get?
Oh my word, that is hilarious coming from you! Weren't you the guy who repeated several phrases throughout the past few minutes and threw in occasional meaningless quips throughout the video? I love the smell of hypocrisy in the morning.
But I just described all these characters. That's it. There's nothing else to them. Nothing. I mean,
Word of advice. Windows Movie Maker is your best friend.
People, let me tell you about my best friend. He's a warm-hearted person who loved me till the end.
Please notice the joke I stole from Youngblood and overlook the poorly timed audio editing. I only have $7. Can I be a popular commentator now?
it's insane. And no, the secondary characters, like the townspeople, Dr. Eggman has these weird robot henchmen, these two weird... I forgot their names.
You mean these two?
No, none of them are interesting, too.
Oh, shut up. Like you could produce a better show.
But in all seriousness, if you really subscribe to the belief that experience has an exact correlation to credibility, then considering the piss-poor presentation I've seen throughout your video, you are one to talk about being able to produce a better show. You can't even make a competently made cutaway commentary, for crying out loud. By the nature of this very video being a text commentary with no audio aspect on your end, I can tell that. Oh, but it gets better.
Wait a minute. I'm a writer on the upcoming Fan Made My Life as a Teenage Robot reboot. Okay, So he's a writer for a reboot, a show that no one really cares about anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry, I must be hallucinating. What were you saying about people caring about the reboot?
I mean, it was cancelled in 2009.
Ahem. Firefly, a sci-fi western with a passionately devoted fanbase and a status as one of the most beloved cult sci-fi TV shows ever made. When was Firefly cancelled? 2002. 7 years before My Life as a Teenage Robot was cancelled, and yet the fanbase is still as active as it is to this day. Your stance on the lifespan of fanbases is meaningless.
Plus, I combed through his channel, and I didn't see anything that gave any updates on that whatsoever.
Excuse me, but have you just never looked in a mirror your entire life? I mean, you preach about not doing research, and yet if you yourself would have done some research, you'd have found the channel devoted to the reboot in question, which, surprise surprise, has 2 update videos. Common sense dictates that KaBlamBandicoot wouldn't want to give updates like this on his channel, so as to keep his content for those only interested in his content, while people who want updates on the reboot could get it from the channel devoted to the reboot. Hell, this is the first time I've heard of both this reboot and the show it serves as a reboot of, and even I managed to figure all this out. You are the last person who should be whining about people who don't do their research. Even ignoring that, all of this is undermined by one simple question that hangs over this entire cutaway about KaBlamBandicoot's involvement in the reboot. And it goes as follows. What does this have to do with the part you cut away from?
You know, none of them. Just none.
You know, for a writer of an upcoming fan-made show reboot, not scripting or editing your videos is really unprofessional.
Okie dokie, Mr. Tedious, poorly edited, no-you-laden text commentary.
Horrible, and that's why this show fails. If you have interesting characters, you will not be able to tell any interesting stories.
Did you catch that? If you have interesting characters, you will not be able to tell any interesting stories. Nostalgia critic, help me out here.
Substituting a nostalgia critic clip in place of trying to make any kind of comedy yourself. The very mating call of the creatively bankrupt. What, my expectations were set low enough already. Pretty much nothing that comes out of this guy's brain can disappoint me at this point.
Even though the stories in the show are already cliched,
Here's a challenge for y'all. Take a shot every time he repeats himself.
You waited until 8 minutes into a 9-minute video to invoke the drinking game trope? This would normally be the part where I'd make a remark about how structure isn't your strong suit, but I'm only left wondering what your strong suit is. And knowing how this video turned out so far, I don't think there exists an answer to that.
And here's a description of one particular episode.
Yeah, I'd let you do that, but...
A lot of the episodes... So, yeah, that's the biggest problem I have with Sonic Boom. The characters are just...
Screw this. I'm skipping.
Yeah, let's skip mid-sentence without even justifying it with trying to avoid repetition like you did earlier.
I don't see how anyone can relate to these characters or become attached to them.
Oh, boo-hoo. People can have whatever opinion they want. Get over it.
Hypocrisy and irony live together in perfect harmony.
It's pathetic. It really is. But, yeah. Apparently, this show actually does well in ratings.
Because Sonic Boom is a highly successful show.
Yeah, tell me something I don't know. I can't.
If anything, you could have easily pointed out how he goes on the basis of the show being watched very often and not necessarily positively received on the basis of that. I'm not trying to defend KaBlamBandicoot, nor am I saying that I'd agree with him, but frankly, speaking from the perspective of someone who hasn't seen the Sonic Boom cartoon, I'm more inclined to believe him than you, seeing how you rely entirely on misquotations, no-you arguments, vague citations of dubious tangentially related sources, and going so far as to miss points that are very easily debunked in and of themselves. Like that one.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, not only does it have uninteresting characters, horrible animation, generic stories, it airs at 7:30 on Saturday mornings with barely any advertising, and it just doesn't... I don't see how the show even does well.
It is because many people actually like it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Literally the next clip that plays.
No, actually I do, now that I think of it. Brand recognition.
Yeah, you're willing to conveniently ignore the slightest notion of brand recognition being a factor in this? Why am I even surprised? Again, we're talking about someone who wears their fanboy status on their sleeve.
Kids just say, "Oh, Sonic!" and just watch it anyways.
Not all kids like Sonic. You know that, right?
That is not what he is saying. He's saying that kids are more likely to gravitate towards the comfort zone of a series spearheaded by a character as recognizable and beloved as Sonic and God. Is English even your first language?
I guess it's probably gonna get a second season and just be like Johnny Test, where it's cheap to make.
Johnny Test used Flash. Sonic Boom uses CGI. See the difference?
Yes, at least I would if that was even relevant. What makes you think that CGI of the caliber of Sonic Boom isn't cheap to make? Got nothing? Well, fair enough, just don't be surprised if people start assuming that your rose-tinted goggles are showing.
And so they keep making more episodes, even though nobody wants it, except, I don't know, for kids for some reason, but...
What do you expect? Sonic Boom is a children's cartoon. Of course it's not going to appeal to anyone outside of its main target audience.
And you clearly love the show, what with you making this entire video, so what does that say about you?
Whatever.
And just to torture myself some more, I'm going to look at comments of the video.
No, screw that, I'm ending it here. I'm not going to let you kill off any more of my brain cells.
So today I'm going to talk about another show currently airing on Cartoon Network that I despise. I'm going to be ranting on Sonic Boom.
Whoopee.
Not that piece of crap Wii U game, and not that mildly average 3DS game. The Cartoon Network TV show.
Well, I will throw KaBlamBandicoot64 some praise, seeing as how he's not talking about either of those games, as they've been discussed millions of times already. But then again, so was the Sonic Boom cartoon.
Oh boy. Ooh. Well, I'm just gonna, cut to a different image and, I'll begin the rant. I got less than 9 minutes. I'm using a really crappy web recorder, so...
If you know that you're using a really crappy web recorder, then why don't you just simply not use it? I mean, I'm pretty sure that you have Windows Live Movie Maker on your computer. If not, then you can probably download it or any other editing software. Why not just use that for your rant instead of using a crappy webcam recorder?
Let's begin. Where to begin? Where to begin? I'm just going to talk about... Before I get to the main issue I have with this show, I'm just going to talk about the animation. It's horrible. The CGI in this show is just really bad.
You know, if you're really that desperate to want to make a good or decent review or rant on a TV show or any subject for that matter, it would be extremely important to not bring up an argument that's been mentioned numerous amounts of times already, let alone to go on a tangent about it. I mean, to be blunt, CGI is a very cookie-cutter concept when it comes to making videos like this. And also, since he does go on a tangent about the CGI, like many other people have done, this particular part deserves a skipping.
That's the least of our worries here. Let's talk about the storylines. They follow a very, very cookie-cutter concept. A lot of the episodes just have extremely similar storylines. Here's the storyline for a bunch of episodes, I guarantee you. Sonic and the gang find Dr. Eggman. Dr. Eggman is doing something seemingly harmless, so they don't really care. However, by the middle or near the end of the episode, they start to realize that Dr. Eggman is doing something bad. And so, Sonic has to outwit him and bash him and boom him and bam, 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 bam. Dr. Eggman says, "I'll be back!" And he is, but he doesn't learn his lessons. And, yeah.
You do realize that that's kind of the whole idea behind the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, right? I mean, if it wasn't for that, the Sonic the Hedgehog series, as we would have known it, probably wouldn't have existed. And also, not all of the games follow this kind of concept. Now, I know I'm going on an off-topic tangent here, but I feel that this is very important to bring up. Sonic and the Secret Rings and Sonic and the Black Knight were games that didn't involve Sonic and Eggman's rivalry. Rather, they focused on entirely different plotlines that really isn't the norm when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm just gonna let these Wikipedia articles do the talking.
And they just sort of yuck it up at the end. The Sonic and his friends. Yeah. That's basically the plot line for this show. Dr. Eggman does something seemingly harmless. Sonic and his friends believe it because they have no character development.
Actually, the Sonic characters have very, very well-written character development. Let's take Amy, for example. As you all know, she is a female, and there is the stereotype that all females are either pansies or boy crazy. But in this series, Amy is the girl-powered girl of the group and breaks the stereotype of being the damsel in distress, and etc., etc., which is something that you really don't see in a lot of TV shows.
Throughout this series, and, then they realize that he is doing something bad, and then they defeat him, and yeah. It's just the same thing over and over again. Now, granted, there are episodes where they do something different, and I suppose those are better, but the writing in this show is just really unfunny most of the time. I might have laughed a couple times, but yeah, it's just really unfunny.
If you claim that the episodes where they do something different are superior to the ones that follow a quote-unquote very cookie-cutter concept, then why do you say that the writing in the show is really bad? That really doesn't make sense. Also, this is something that I need to mention real quick. Not all cartoons need to be story-driven, because the main idea of cartoons is to help kids relax after a long day of school, or something of that matter. And not only that, but cartoons are really meant to entertain since they're mostly aired on television. You see, if we were going to be educated or anything of that liking, then we would be back sitting in a classroom, not sitting in front of our TVs.
And yeah, I know the show does have a lot of action in it, so comedy isn't the main focus, but the creators said, no, it is the main focus. The creators have said that this is mostly a comedy-driven show with some action in it.
Like I said earlier, the whole purpose of cartoons are to entertain people, not to educate.
So yeah, that's what they're going for here. Comedy, and it's not funny. I mean, but that's not even the main issue I have with this show.
You know, all of these stutters and pauses that you were making really makes it more tedious for me to sit through your video. I would have really appreciated it if you had scripted your rant like I'm doing with my commentary. Just a little pro tip there.
The main issue I have with the show is the characters are bland.
Alright, granted, the personality traits that the gang hold in their possession are synonymous to many other different characters from many other different TV shows. However, this should not be a problem because, like I said earlier, Amy breaks the stereotype of being your typical damsel in distress, pansy, and or boy crazy. Not only that, but the other main characters act differently in some episodes and aren't the sitcom characters that other people claim them as.
Alright, so here's why the characters are bland. Sonic is the team leader.
Duh.
He's strong and heroic and not much else.
He's also cocky, witty, and a chili dog enthusiast. Please do your research.
Tails is the science geek.
Tails has always been like that, so why are you complaining about it here?
He can handle weapons, planes, and, he doesn't do much else.
Okay, so according to this little piece of a Wikipedia article that I searched up, it reads, a two-tailed fox who is Sonic's sidekick, he sports goggles and a tool belt, and serves as the group's mechanic and technology expert. Tails' inventions do not always work out as intended, though he's highly confident in his abilities. See, that right there just gave 2 extra character traits about Tails. He's highly confident in his abilities, and he's a technology expert. Saying that he's a science geek is kind of an understatement.
Knuckles is the strong idiot.
Oh my lord, are we still on this whole debacle? Okay. The reason why Knuckles is stupid is because what the writers are doing is just purely an example of character exaggeration. Why? Because Knuckles had a history of being one-track-minded, clueless, and ignorant in the past, but here they're making him into a full-blown idiot in order to exaggerate that. And to be honest, there's really nothing wrong with it if you really think about it. Also, I really need to bring this up. What the writers are also doing besides that is making all of Knuckles' skill and know-how go to his muscles and not his brain. Why? Because no one gave a crap about how smart he was. He was well known for his strength. He was called Knuckles the Echidna for a freaking reason.
He's not that big in the head, but in the muscles he sure is strong, and that's pretty much it.
You know, this guy is starting to get very, very redundant. You can't just tell us only one or two traits about the character and assume that's it. You need to do more research and dig deeper into what you are talking about.
Styx the Badger is a new character, and she's crazy and wild, and that's about it.
Well, what do you expect from someone who came out of the jungle?
Amy is the girl-powered girl of the group, even though Styx is a girl, but...
So, what's wrong with Amy being the girl-powered girl of the group and not Styx? Can you elaborate on that, please? No? Okay.
Amy's the girl-powered group, and, she's heroic like Sonic, and she's a girl, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, you know what? Because of how repetitive this guy is getting, I'm going to go ahead and skip through some of the video.
And for a TV show, if your characters are not interesting, it will crash and burn into a sonic boom. No pun intended. Anyways, yeah, but I just described all these characters.
If by describe you mean give one or two traits about the characters and assume, yeah, that's it. That's all there is to them.
But yeah, apparently this show actually does well in ratings. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like,
okay, I'm going to stop you right there. So basically what you're saying here is that it's unbelievable that people actually like the show and that the show does well in ratings by your standards. This just screams bigotry, and if you're going to make a rant or a review or any type of video for that matter, you need to try to avoid coming across as a bigot. And therefore, people aren't going to take you too seriously if they see you as such.
Not only does it have uninteresting characters, horrible animation, generic stories, it airs at 7:30 on Saturday mornings with barely any advertising, and it just doesn't... I don't see how the show even does well.
See, what did I just say? That right there is screaming bigotry. Right there. What you are saying is that anyone who likes the show is doing some sort of harm. That is what I'm hearing going by what you've been saying in this part of your video.
No, actually I do, now that I think of it. Brand recognition. Kids just say, "Oh, Sonic!" and just watch it anyways.
So, what you're saying in this part of your video is that kids only watch it because it has Sonic on it? Well, I beg to differ, because I actually watch it not only because it has Sonic on it. In fact, I don't even watch it because it is Sonic. I watch it because, in my opinion, it has great storylines, amusing dialogue, etc., etc. I could make a whole laundry list of reasons why I think Sonic Boom is good, but I'm not going to get into that right now.
And that would be fine if they actually put quality into the show, but they don't, so kids are just forced to watch this mediocre tripe.
No, kids aren't forced to watch this show, let alone any show on television. They can just as easily stray away from a TV show and do something else. And even if they were forced to watch Sonic Boom or any other TV show for that matter, how would you have proof of that?
I guess it's probably gonna get a second season and just be like Johnny Test, where it's cheap to make.
Johnny Test used Flash. Sonic Boom uses CGI. CGI really isn't that cheap, while Flash is when it comes to making a TV show. And I gotta throw Sonic Boom some credit. For its CGI, it looks pretty darn good. And at least they're putting effort into the animation, because mind you that this is a weekly TV series as it airs every Saturday morning. Every new episode comes on every Saturday morning. So the effort should be shown right in front of your face and should be blatantly obvious.
And so they keep making more episodes, even though nobody wants it.
Except for the fans.
Except, I don't know, for kids for some reason, but whatever.
And I'm just going to end the video there. But before I end this video, these are my final thoughts on the rant in question.